The AeA of Orange County presents the 15th Annual High Tech Awards. Education by our nominee thought leaders.
At Lakeview School, we have the NASA Explorer School programs, and that's a partnership with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The mission of the Explorer School program is to inspire the next generation of mathematicians and scientists and engineers. And we do that through applied math and science programs, so that we don't teach skills in isolation. We are required to teach the California standards, and we absolutely do that. There's nothing wrong with the standards. They're rigorous. That's okay. We're okay with that. But what we do is we take it to the next level. We take those math and science skills that the kids are taught in isolation, and then we apply it. We put rockets in their hands, we put robots in their hands, we put duct tape and plastic in their hands and build planetariums. And when the kids are engaged in learning, that's when you cement that knowledge and they really become problem solvers and critical thinkers. Regardless of what subject we're teaching, whether we're teaching mathematics or we're teaching English language arts, the most critical skill that we can give a child in our classrooms today is the ability to problem solve, to use critical thinking skills to solve problems. There's nothing more valuable that we can give a child than critical thinking and problem solving skills.
Okay, well, I've got two things that I try to keep in mind: motivation and information. I try to get the kids motivated so they'll want to learn the information and develop the skills they need to be successful later on. So I've got several things going on. Number one, I try to use a lot of technology in my presentation. So I use PowerPoint, I try to cut in videos, I try to add sound bites, I try to just make it as dynamic as I can to keep them focused on the content area. But the real thing is, if they don't work to study, then we're not going to be as successful. So I put their names on the wall. I teach AP biology, that's one of my preps, and regular biology, but if they get a 5 on the AP biology exam, I put their name on my wall forever. And that was a real problem, because when I was in the old science building, I had all the names done by hand, and then I had to move to the new building. So I had all these names I had to replicate and put on the wall. So luckily I had a parent who has a company who was able to do that for me. So they're real nice, and the kids come in and they always tell me, I got to get my name on that wall. I want my brother and sister to see my name. And so they have to get a 5 or it doesn't go up there. So, that motivates them.
For us to be worried so much about the non-technology pieces when everything we're doing can be done through technology, it is hard for me to witness. Especially being so pro-technology, it's hard for me to look at a district that might have only 1 or 2 old, like IBM 386s in the room, and that's all they've got. And it's like, those kids are so far behind. And it's sad, because those same kids in one district, compared to kids in maybe like in a Magnolia, are now going to come together in junior high. And you handicap the teacher at that point, because the teacher now, do they teach to the bottom where they don't know much about the computers and these kids are bored, or do you teach to these kids and leave these behind? So I think there needs to be a very purposeful, from kindergarten forward, this is what we need to teach. We need to get them on the computers. We need to show them what's out there on the web. We talked about collaboration. We need to show them Web 2.0. And as they develop those skills, people tend to stay. Rather than moving away, people tend to stay local. And if they're able to drive that, through their ability through high school, through internships and things like that, I think that we can really see a growth within Orange County as it's supported from the ground up. And I think it's vital that the technology would play a role in that, especially with Orange County sometimes being called like the second Silicon Valley kind of thing. There's a lot of that, especially the Irvine kind of area, and kids want to work in that. Kids want to work in the jobs that aren't even existing yet. The jobs that we won't know about for 10 years, that's what they want to be prepared for. And if we're preparing them for the jobs of yesterday, it doesn't work so well. So I think education is huge in making sure we're ready as a county to move forward.
That's an interesting question, and I asked my students that. What did they think they needed to learn or to be competitive? And they came up with 2 answers that I agree with, but I also have more of a philosophical answer than they came up with. They came up with, first of all, mathematics, because they said other countries were kicking our butt in mathematics, that we were just we were truly not as competitive as we should be with the minds that we have in this country. And the second thing they said was languages. That when they travel, most American students, obviously they know English, maybe they know a second language, sort of. Whereas if you go to Europe, it's not a question of what do you speak other languages, it's which ones. And many people speak five and six, and especially with the Asian, with the heavy Asian influence, our students are really not competitive with that. But maybe technology will solve that with some of these instant kind of things. But they felt that. I think it's almost more important for a student to develop just a yearn or a lust for learning, that they cannot see the importance of learning and what they can get out. Because if you've got that lust and know how to learn, then you can figure out, when you discover, okay, I don't know how to do this, they know how to figure it out and how to get it.
What do we have to do in the American educational system to stay competitive? I think really kids today may be a little bit spoiled. It's a little too easy for them. I think that for the kids that are in the high spectrum, the AP kids, advanced placement kids, they work really hard and they do what they can do. But the average kid, the kid who's in the middle of the road, which is the majority or 80% of the students, they try to see what they can do to get by, and just kind of do the status quo. Seniors, for example, can go to school from 7 in the morning and get out at 12:25. I think that's a crime. That's a shame. They should stay in school, come back after lunch, and take an elective class because it's free of charge. They don't have to pay for it like they would in college, and they can kind of, experience, pathways that they may have never thought about or didn't even know that existed. And again, give them a chance to apply their skills that they've learned in math and English and social studies and work like it is in the real world. We don't learn things in isolation, and we teach in isolation. So we teach English at a separate hour. We teach, social studies or, civics or econ or whatever in a separate hour. You have math. But in the real world, we don't do things in isolation. We do it together, and where we have to create and solve things. And I think they need to learn problem-solving skills in a cooperative environment where they're working in a team, for example. And I try to run my classroom that way, as if it's a business. And I tell the students that their pay is their actual grade. The product that they're creating, that's their reward.
In an engineer there, in the classroom, the engineer is going to understand the programming and the technology piece of it, and the teacher is going to understand the educational part of it. I could use that engineer there 2-3 days a week to help me teach robotics. The other thing is I bought my robots 3 years ago, which means we've had 2 years to use them, because by the time you get your product, it's, they're obsolete. At this year's competition at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the new generation of robots are out. And although my students will be able to compete again next year using the old ones, there are no more replacement pieces and parts. There are no more anything breaks and we're out. So I need the knowledge and skills that business would bring to us. And then I just flat out need the money.
Okay, I think we have to get everybody to realize that education is not just done when you leave the classroom, whether it's high school, college level. People have to bring things back. That's what I'm trying to do with the Alumni Association, trying to bring them back to motivate and help the kids, to show them what's out there. So, get a doctor, come back and tell everybody what it's like to go to med school, what they're doing, how exciting their life is. Get a lawyer, say this is what it takes. So I think the real job, we've got to be better at reaching out and bringing people back in, because they got to make it real. And today it's difficult. Today's education, the kids are, the electives are gone. Many electives are gone. Many of the job skill things are gone. Kids have to be able to relate. Why am I studying English? Why am I studying math and science? Well, bring somebody back and tell them how they use it, and then they'll start to get a little better feel for it. So I think really important to bring the community back into the classroom.
The AeA's 15th Annual High Tech Awards will be held at the Hyatt Regency on AeA's 15th Annual High Tech Awards will be held at the Hyatt Regency on April 29th. For information or tickets, please call 949-450-1500.